The general form, take a look at what it looks like, how different it looks. Oops. It has all the terms on one side, 0 on the other. And we want all of the x, y, and constant terms on one side. We want them on the left, okay? But nothing, so that it's not y equals. There's no brackets. There's no y's on one side, x's on the other. Okay, so this is general form. Do you need to go for a walk? Okay, so for the following graph, determine the equation of the line in slope-intercept form and in point-slope form. So take a look at this one. Because it has a nice y-intercept, that's why we can do that slope-intercept form right away if we wanted to, or you don't have to, you can use point-slope form. Do you need to go for a walk? Okay, so find another point. The x-intercept looks good. So if I were to do the slope there, I'm going up 3, to the right 6. Okay, you are going for a walk. You don't have a choice. You don't want it to be a walk to the office, right? So, okay, so right now slope, I can do this right away. Slope-intercept form is 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, the y-intercept there is 3. Coordinates, okay, go. Okay, if you put it in this form, then it's y minus 3, and the slope is 1/2, and x minus 0. So you can see that I actually wouldn't keep the minus 0 in there. And so you don't even need the brackets. You can just show it like that. That's in point-slope form using the y-intercept. If you used a different point, like how about the x-intercept, then that would be y minus 0 equals 1/2 bracket x plus 6. And if you expand that out, you can see both of these will end up being the same. Okay. Neither of those were in general form. Now take a look at question 1. It says consider that equation. That's in general form. All the terms are on one side. It says isolate for y. Okay, isolate for y, solve for y, sometimes how we phrase that. So here is the y term. Get rid of the other terms by subtracting them from both sides. So that will go to 0, that will go to 0. So we'll have negative 2y equals negative x minus 6. Okay, we need to isolate for y. So the opposite, of multiplying by negative 2y there, we're going to divide by negative 2. Whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. So those divide out. Okay, and so we'll be left with y equals. Now you have to take each term and divide by negative 2. Leave them in fraction form. We never use decimals unless it's an application form. Okay, so negative x divided by negative 2 is positive x over 2, which I like to show as 1/2 x rather than x over 2, just so that you see that slope separately. The slope is 1/2. And then negative 6 divided by negative 2 is positive 3. So take a look. Is that equation the same as the equation in above? Yeah, it is. Not sure what's different about those two. Okay, so they are exactly the same. So that equation, x minus 2y plus 6 equals 0, is another form of the equation of that line. So you can show that equation in 3 different ways. Okay? More ways if you didn't put it in simplest form. More ways if you chose a different point for point slope form, but all of them will end up being this as slope intercept form. Okay, there's no variation on that. And all of them will end up being this in general form. There is no variation for simplest form. So yeah, you could multiply everything by 5 and it would be the same equation, but it wouldn't be in simplest form. You can multiply everything by -2. It wouldn't be in simplest form. Okay? Okay, so that is the general form. So in this chart here, okay, we listed all the forms. So slope y-intercept form, slope point form, general form, and there's another form called standard form. Most times you might be given it in that form, but we don't often say express in standard form. It just has the constant term by itself on one side, okay? Look at this part here. That's what's important, okay? They all have to be integers when it's in general form. No fractions, no decimals, okay? So you're going to have to multiply through by a common denominator if you have any fractions. Take a look in that A has to be positive. So that leading coefficient, and it's got to be in alphabetical order, x term then y term, that has to be positive to be in proper general form. And that's what we expect when we ask for general form, that it's in proper general form. Okay? So take a look. In which form is each line written? So here I've got the x term, then the y term, equal sign, constant term. Okay, they're all integers. The x term is positive. So that would be this form because it's not 0 on the right side. So that's standard form. Okay. B, y minus a number equals some number bracket x plus a number. So that is really, anytime you have brackets, it's likely slope point form, unless there's something sneaky being done to it for some reason. 2 brackets or something like that, where you might have to do something. This one is solved for y. X term is first, then constant, so that's slope. I abbreviate it to slope intercept form. You can call it slope y-intercept form. It's a little bit more detailed. And here the right side is 0. So that is your general form. Okay? So just a reminder what I just told you. When writing equations in general form or standard form, all the coefficients must be integers. Okay, so no decimals or fractions. And the coefficient of x must be positive. Okay, so you've got to remember that. So question 2, all of this is just about rearranging the equations. So it says express each equation in general form. That's everything on one side. So if I have a positive x term on the left, then bring everything to the left. So 5x stays. That's a positive 6y on the right, so it'll be minus 6y. It was a minus 7 on the right, so it'll be plus 7 on the left, equals 0. Don't bring it to the right-hand side, bring everything to the left-hand side. All you have to do. Okay, next one is in slope-intercept form. Notice how it has fractions. So what I like to do first is get rid of the fraction. Okay, if it's not in slope point form, my first thing is I expand the brackets, then I get rid of the fraction. So in order to do that, remember solving equations. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if I want to get rid of the 3 in the denominator here, I'm going to multiply that right-hand side by 3, which means I have to multiply the left-hand side by 3. So my left-hand side becomes 3y. I distribute that 3 into both terms. So negative 2/3 times 3 is negative 2x. Then plus 6 times 3 is 18. So now I'm just dealing with integers. I need to get everything on one side, and I need the x term to be positive. Works out well in this case, because if I bring negative 2x to the left, it becomes positive. So that's what I'm going to do. So when I bring negative 2x to the left, it becomes positive 2x. Then I just copy out the 3y with a plus in front because it's positive 3y. And then when I bring the 18 to the left, it's minus. Okay. Okay, turn to the next page or the next side. Notice how this one is not in any proper form. It's got all the terms on one side, but it's got fractions. And it's got a negative x term. So yeah, all of them are in the right place, but we can't have a denominator of 5 or it being negative. So I'm going to multiply everything in this equation, both sides, by the lowest common denominator, which is 5. Okay, as well, I want to make that x term be positive. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5. Now, the right-hand side is 0. Well, what's 0 times anything? 0. So that's going to stay. And then negative 5 times the first term will be positive 6x. Negative 5 times positive 4y is negative 20y. And negative 5 times negative 2 is plus 10. Okay, now, you might think you're done. Take a look at it. What is common to every term there? They're all divisible by 2. So technically, it's not in simplest form. Now, I could have multiplied originally by negative 5 over 2, but you might not see that right away. So there's no harm in taking 2 steps to do it. And so now that's 3x minus 10y plus 5 equals 2. Now I'm good. There's no common factors between all of those terms. Pardon me? Oh, sorry, I meant equals 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. Sorry, I probably did. Okay. Next one is in slope point form. So we know how to convert it to slope y-intercept form, but we're not really asked to. We're asked to put it in general form. Same first step is get rid of the brackets, okay, no matter what form you're putting it into. Okay. Now, notice how you have 2 terms with a denominator of 2. So that's your lowest common denominator. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. You could get everything on one side first and then deal with the fractions, but I like getting rid of the fractions to start. Makes life, I think, a little bit easier. So that's going to be 2y minus 10 equals 7x plus 21, right? When you multiply by 2, the denominators go away. Now take a look here. If I bring this to the left, it's going to be negative 7x. So I'm going to have to then change the signs and everything, but that's okay. I want everything on the left. So negative 7x plus 2y, and then collect the like terms. So negative 10 minus 21 is negative 31. Okay. Oops, just a sec here. And so now you either multiply or divide by negative 1, however you want to think about it. You don't even have to show that. You can just rewrite it because you're changing all of the signs. Now you can see here, if in that last one, if you were to solve for y, you could bring it to the right to make it positive. Divide by 2, you get 7 over 2 for the coefficient of x, which is the slope. So you're going to be doing that. You're going to be going from general form to slope-intercept form, so you can find the slope, the y-intercept, to graph it, all that kind of thing. Because really from general form, you can't graph right away. You have to do a little bit of work. So in question 3, given a point with the slope, determine the equation first in point slope or slope point form. So again, it's all substitution. So y plus 5, because you're subtracting a negative, equals 4/5 x minus 3. No work, guaranteed. Questions on your test like that. Just give me the equation in that form. Right or wrong. Slope y-intercept form, to get that right away would take a little bit of work, right? Because we don't have the graph, we don't know what the y-intercept is. We do know the slope. So if you already have this form, then you can expand the brackets and get y by itself. Okay, so that's minus 5, which is 25 over 5. So that's what, minus 37 over 5. Oops. Okay, and then general form, well, if you've already got it in slope y-intercept form, then for general form, I first thing, get rid of the fractions. Can't have any fractions, so I would take that previous one, multiply both sides by 5. Matei. Finn, is it your turn to go for a walk? Okay, so then we'd have 5y equals, so the 5 will get rid of the denominator, so 4x minus 37. Now what you could do is get everything to the right, x would be positive, but then show it with everything on the left, or bring it to the left. So whatever way, you don't really, it doesn't require showing much work. Sort of from this step, I'm looking for the final answer. This is not the final answer right now because of the negative 4x, but I'll change all the signs by dividing by -1. And that will be my final answer. Okay, so that was given a point and the slope. Now we're going to be given a graph. So everyone should be doing this. Got a pencil in your hand, Will? Now you do. Good. Okay, so take a look. You have the y-intercept. You can find the slope really easily. Choose another point. Down 1 to the right 3. Okay, so I'm going to put it in slope y-intercept form first. What's that? Yeah, go sign out. So y equals -1/3 x plus 2. You could use point slope form if you wanted. Totally up to you. Okay, now to get rid of that 3 in the denominator, oops, because I want to put it in general form. Oh, I want it to be red. Both sides by 3. So that's going to be 3y equals -x plus 6. So really, this requires good work with fractions, good work with integers and equations, right? So attention to detail is really important. Bring everything to the left. So you'll have x plus 3y minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so guys at the back, focus please. Okay, so graphing lines from general form. So if we have general form, how are we going to graph? Pardon? No, the 3y was already positive, was here. We brought these to the left. The 3y stays on the left. Oh, I just lost my pen. 3y was already on the left of the equal sign. Okay, so to graph from general form, we can't see what a point is and what the slope is right away. Okay, so it's not quite as easy as the other two forms to graph from. So remember, to graph a line, you need at least 1 point and the slope, or 2 points. So you have 2 points to join up. You can find the slope and then get more points. Obviously, many different points in a table of values. But in this case right here with general form, we don't have that information right away. Okay, so it says for lines given in the equation form y equals mx plus b, you know the slope and a point. For lines given in the slope intercept form, the point slope form, you know the slope and a point. If you're in general form, what do you do? So do you know the slope or any points? No. But you can find that information. So one of 2 ways. Rearrange it so that it's in slope intercept form. So solve for y. This is solve for y. Pen cover. The other way is find the x and y intercepts of the line and then join them up. And you can find the slope to get more points if you need to. So reminder what the x-intercept is. I already showed you on a graph. It's where, so if that's our x and y axis, and we've got a line going, then this is our x-intercept. This here is our y-intercept. So when we were finding the x-intercept, we substituted, when we're finding the x-intercept, we substituted y equals 0 in. So we substitute 0 in for the y variable. To get the y-intercept, we substitute 0 in for the x variable. Okay? So that's what we're going to do on the next page here. Okay? So first part, question 5, sketch the graphs by expressing the equation in slope y-intercept form. So that means solve for y. So I always circle the term that has y in it. I've got to keep that by itself. I bring the other terms to the right. The opposite of putting it in general form. So that's going to be negative 2x plus 18. But don't stop there. You've got to divide by 3. Okay, so when we divide by 3, both terms, we get negative 2/3 x plus 6. Okay, so now we know how to graph that. We know the y-intercept is 6, and the slope is negative 2/3. So down 2 to the right 3, down 2 to the right 3, or up 2 to the left 3. Okay, and I'm going to do a line in blue. Join them up. Put in arrows on the end. Sec, my computer's slow. All right. And that's part A. Okay, do the same thing for B. Solve for y. Okay, so I kept the negative 5y by itself, or you could put the 5y on the right to make it positive, but I kept it on the left because I like to have my equation y equals. That's the form I want. I don't want something equals y. So it would take an extra step. So now I'm going to divide by negative 5. Okay, you leave everything in fraction form. No decimals. Okay, notice how this one also has a y-intercept of 6. So same y-intercept. Okay, slope is 3/5. Notice how I run out of grid paper, guys. So 3, I can't go up 3. So remember, 3/5 is the same as negative 3 over negative 5. Not in lowest terms, I never use that, but I use it for my slope. I never state it with 2 negatives, but now I can go down 3 to the left 5. Okay, down 3, still run out of space. So really, I only have space to have 2 points here, but that's okay. Just try your best to make it accurate. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to extend it. Try to extend beyond the points that you plot. Okay. Not so bad. Okay, and that's B. Okay, so that's using slope-intercept form. So that's where we're going to stop for today. We'll do the last question with the next part tomorrow. Okay.